Ready as I'll ever be. Hey. Good morning, everybody. Morning, Joe. Thanks so much for coming to this workshop. What a treat to be here with you today. I was not prepared for a whole microphone thing. I mean, I guess it is technically kind of a performance workshop, so I should have figured somebody would have thought to set up a sound system, but you know, I kind of wasn't thinking that way. I thought this would be a little more collegial, sitting in a circle kind of presentation, so I'm just adjusting my expectations here, as maybe some of you are. So, some of you may be wondering, what did he mean when he wrote "More Roses, Please"? I have to tell you, I have had to get past many people's presentation to hear the fact that they had written a stellar piece of music. And I hate it when I have to wade through terrible deliverance in order to discern that someone has actually crafted a magnificent song. And it does a disservice to whatever message we're trying to carry if we are so scattered in the way that we present that we are in fact distracting people from receiving the message we have worked so hard to create to give to them. And so this is just kind of a personal peeve of mine, and I'd love to try and help people think creatively and think well about how to work with their particular skill set to be more effective at delivering whatever song it is they want to give. You know, not everybody is a stellar singer. Not everybody is a virtuosic player. But we can all work with the skill set that we have and improve it just a little bit, incrementally, here or there, so that we can give something that we have to give that will enrich a moment or elevate something or just hold people's attention into an idea. And so that's really my goal today, is to have a conversation with you, to share some thoughts and ideas, and invite any of you that came prepared to want to sing a little bit or share part of a song to do so if you're feeling brave enough, and then I may give you some thoughts, some ideas, some pointers about, you know, how to evolve your performance a little bit. And I'll have you try it again with a few suggestions. In the sort of classical music world, we call this masterclass format. So just a quick show of hands before we start, so I have a sense of what we're looking through. Did anybody come prepared to want to sing part of a song or play something or share something with us? Raise your hand if that was your home. Keep your hands up so I can just kind of get a head count, because it'll help me know like how much time to spend in a given place. Sorry, hands up still. Anybody who want to? Great. All right, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Joe Jencks. I'm a touring singer-songwriter and performer and sort of dilettante activist. I say that because I know people who have devoted their lives to doing incredible change work, and I feel like I got the easy end of that deal. I stand around and sing about the work that they do. And, you know, so people say, oh, he's a great organizer. And I say, no, I'm not an organizer. I'm just a singer. It's just that I choose to sing about things that have relevant social content from time to time. One of the musicians who most affected me in this regard, in terms of thinking about how we present, about our music, about our ideas, came into my life pretty early in my touring career. John Fromer, I don't know how many of you know John Fromer, but I'd love to start out by singing one of John's songs and just invoking his memory here today. John had a marvelous sense of melody. He was very influenced by soul and Motown and R&B. And what struck me when I first met John was how unusual it was for him to bring that music into the social justice arena, into a place where people were really kind of fixated on banjos and mandolins and you know, kind of, you know, the more folky style of acoustic guitar. And he just kind of had this groove going in what he was doing. It was like, oh yeah, anybody can hear this message. Anybody can hear what's going on here, because he's put it to music that you can't listen to without moving. Like, you have to be 6 weeks dead to hear one of John Fromer's songs and not have something in your body start moving involuntarily. It just, you know, it just happened. So this is one of John's songs. Welcome into my land. It's your land too now. Wanna shake your hand. Wanna know your story, the journey you've been on. Wanna hear your language. Wanna learn your song. The earth knows no borders, just one sky above. Friendship has no fences, no walls can stop love. Welcome, make my home yours. These arms are open, so are the doors. The faces of the world are all around us today. Many voices make for harmony, so let the music play. My life is richer for your presence here today. Let's break bread together while our children play. Welcome, I hope you like it here. I hope that you are safe and your children without fear. If they come to take you in the dead of the night, I'll be there beside you to stand up for your rights. I'll harbor you, I'll fight for you, as you would do for me. And when everyone is welcome, we will all be free. Welcome into my land. It's your land, so now wanna shake your hand. Wanna know your story, the journey you've been on. Wanna hear your language, wanna learn your song. The earth knows no borders, just one sky above. Friendship has no fences, no walls can stop love. Welcome, I say welcome. There are some really sort of fundamental things that help make a performance more engaging. One, you have to know your song. It sounds rudimentary, but how many times have we seen people, somebody stands up at a microphone and they start stumbling and they can't get through the song. Spend time outside of any environment where you might actually perform a song and really run the song. Run it in the car, run it in your head, run it as you're drifting off to sleep. I find if I'm memorizing a new piece, we'll run it as I'm drifting off to sleep because there's something about the link between the conscious and unconscious mind. That boundary sort of begins to break down as we're drifting off to sleep or first waking up in the morning. And I'll just run lyrics in my head, but it sounds so simple, but it's so important. If you really believe in the message behind what you're singing, it's so important that you take the time to be prepared beforehand. In singing, making sure that you get good breath so that you can support good vocal tone. And then making sure that you think about dynamics and phrasing. How many people sing something completely differently than they would ever speak it? I really invite people to sit with the lyrics to a song, whether it's one they've written or one that they're learning, and read them as spoken word poetry. Just sit there and recite the words and think about where the phrasing is. And then recognize that there's also musical phrasing, just like there's lyrical phrasing. And think about how do these two work together, and where do I breathe in a way that allows me to think about the phrasing. You know, John was great with phrasing. Welcome into my land. There's one phrase. There's a little pause in the middle, but it's still really the arc of one phrase. Into my land. It's your land too now. I want to shake your hand. Second phrase. It's that really musically is really musically one phrase, but that's more of a phrase than probably any of us can get through in one breath. So then you got to figure out, okay, how do I breathe in the middle of something that should musically really be one continuous phrase, but I can't get through it. So how do I really think about where am I going to put a breath in this so that I can sing through this in a way that doesn't interrupt the emotional feeling of that phrase, but still allows that to carry over, even though I got to refuel in the middle of it. So phrasing is really important. Dynamics are really important. How many times have you seen someone stand on stage? They sing this thing. They're like, ah! You're like, please, whoa, slow down. Dynamics really matter. I mean, it's how we speak. We speak in a very melodic way in our language. It's why when we're in conversation with people, it's so hard to understand the written language. And yet when we can sit in a space and talk with people, our understanding is so expanded. Because our language, even the spoken form of it, has melody and tone and cadence. And that, why would we eradicate that when we start singing? You know, like we do it naturally when we're talking. So we have to think about bringing that into our performance as well as singers. And as writers, which is a whole other thing, I'll get into more of that tomorrow in my writing workshop, but it's also very important to think about certainly not after 5 minutes. So, but it doesn't mean you have to be the world's greatest guitar player to make that interesting. Much more musical, much more engaged, same chords, same cadence, just a different way of getting it. And so it's important for us to think in performance about all of these different aspects musically that go into what we're creating, because our first job really is to deliver that message in a way that people will receive it. I spent years of my life, unfortunately, thinking that the power of my rhetoric, which I am easily persuaded by personally, but that the power of my rhetoric would move people, and I was so wrong. I was so wrong. I was not going to win anybody over to any idea based on me arguing with them about intellectual concepts. The only way I was going to get to a place where another person who did not agree with me was willing to consider my perspective was if I bypassed all the intellectual gatekeepers and aimed right for the heart. If I wrote songs and chose songs that were about somehow celebrating one or another aspect of our humanity in a way that someone who disagreed with me could still acknowledge. A song I sang last night, Lady of the Harbor, about immigration. I really spent a lot of time working on that song because I wanted to write about immigration in a way that would not automatically alienate people whose perspective was different than my own. And so I really intentionally thought about what is the history of our, what's the story, what's our history as a nation, as a people. And of course, unless you're Chinese and have an entire section of immigration code written just for you, unfortunately, unless you are of African descent and your ancestors were brought here as slaves, the vast majority of us alive today came here as immigrants. And so I really wanted to think about how do I frame this in a way that helps people connect with a sense of pride to the idea that their people came here, busted their butts, worked hard, and created life. Because that pride, that sense of belonging, that sense of ownership to me was a really pivotal way of beginning a conversation with people. And I played that song for the very first time at a festival right on the Texas border. And about half the audience gave me a standing ovation, and the other half of the audience didn't clap. It was like, you know, or they were like, let's try it. It was a moment, you know, I debuted that song, I took a risk, you know, that's another piece of, you know, performing. No matter how well prepared you want to be, sometimes you have to, I know this may seem contradictory, but sometimes you gotta just take the risk. The moment presents itself, that's why preparation beforehand is important. So that when that moment arises, when somebody says, hey, give us a song, you're like, oh, no, really, give us a song. You're like, all right, I got 3 in my hip pocket that I know I can completely kick ass on no matter what. You know, like, you know, so that's, and I would say last but not least, the appropriateness to the moment. Then, of course, just because you have 3 songs in your pocket doesn't mean any one of them is appropriate to the moment. So it's our responsibility as people who want to engage the world through our music, open hearts, bypass the gatekeeper here, get right to that soft, tender spot. The Buddhists call it bodhicitta, the broken heart, the awakened heart. That's what we're aiming for, that really tender space. Because from there, we begin to reconsider things. When we have connected with people's humanity, when we see our story in another person, somehow things begin to change. They begin to change for us. That chrysalis, that armor that we wear around our heart and around our perceptions, begins to change a little bit. There's cracks in that armor. We start to let new ideas in. And that's the power of our music. That's the power of music in general. It gets past the intellectual ideas sometimes and gets right into that soft spot, which we can completely run with a horrific performance. So that's why we ponder these things. That's why we think about it. You know? And like I said, I mean, nobody would say Tom Waits is a brilliant singer. He is a great vocalist. He's a great vocalist. He works so well with this limited window of what he's capable of. As Leonard Cohen has aged, he has lost vocal range. He has lost some of the strength his voice had 30 or 40 or 50 years ago, and yet he still engages with such finesse what it is that he had. I think of Ella Fitzgerald, if you want to go back a ways, is one of the most amazing singers and performers ever, because she had this immense command of her own voice. Duke Ellington had, you know, not a lot of voice, but he did a lot with a little bit that he had. Louis Armstrong, mostly known as a trumpeter, and yet, you know, there are performances where he's basically growling into a microphone that bring us to tears. You know, like, so you don't have to be, you know, a spectacular singer to be a compelling vocalist. I worked with a woman at a camp a couple summers ago who literally had a 6-note range. She didn't even have a full octave. She had like a 6-note range. And it was a pleasure to work with her all week long. I did little sessions with her on 4 out of 5 days at the camp. And by the end of the week, there was so much going on in her voice that hadn't been. So I maintain that it's not so much about what we have, but what we do with it that really matters. So with some of those thoughts milling about in our head, I hope I haven't completely intimidated you and given you too much to think about. Who feels like volunteering to sing a little bit? What I'll have you do is sing maybe a verse and a chorus of a song. I'll offer you a few suggestions, invite you to implement that, sing the same verse and chorus again, or the same chorus again. And we'll tweak a couple of things each time, and we'll just take, 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes with somebody, and we'll move on to another person.
So without guitar necessarily?
If you have a guitar, bring it, if that's how you perform. If you wanted to sing a cappella, that's fine too. There's plenty we can do just with singing. I saw this hand first. Over here, I'll go with that. If somebody wants to consider themselves in the bullpen and get ready to grab an instrument, or if you want it.
Lou, do you have a guitar for me?
No.
Yeah.
And I'll leave a little time for Q&A, both in and through, and maybe a little bit at the end as well. I have to tell you, Dan has this cool new chord that's got a little trigger in here so that you can hot plug it without making it pop in the system. It's got this little cutout switch. As soon as you unplug it, it is disengaged. And I got to get me one of these.
What's it called, you know?
A quarter-inch cable with a cutout thingy switch. It's warm in here.
It is very.
I'm kind of a polar bear to begin with. But
Never fails. Everybody before me is always doing it.
so it's
So this, my name is Ann Sandstrom. I'm from Boston, originally. I live just north of there in Burlington, but I grew up in Dorchester. And so a number of years ago, I went to the Bread and Roses Festival in Mars. And I was starting to be a little full of myself. And I was very, very excited to see Karen. So that was my focus of the day. And the beginning of the festival, there was a terrific storyteller. His name escapes me at the moment because it's too early in the morning.
Can we turn up the volume, please, of the speakers, the overall?
And
turn it up.
We can hardly hear
We
her.
can hardly hear you.
so at this festival, you know, I'm excited about being at the festival, seeing Karen. And so storyteller gets up first and tells a story of the strike. And so I'm sitting there in the audience thinking, I have to write the song. And the other half of me was saying, no, I don't write songs like this. I don't do historic songs. Well, that was the beginning of the end for me. So for several weeks I worked on this. I'll do the first verse and chorus. It's called Roses in the Snow. I card the wool to make it clean. Been at this mill since I was 14.
I know you're trying to get this. I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to move this up a little bit and ask you to stand so that your mouth is about 3 inches away from this microphone. And think about that as you're sort of, so just a little closer, like an inch or so closer. There you go. There you go. But you like I usually say 3 fingers, and ideally, so you know, give yourself 3 fingers. That's kind of about where you want to be on one of those microphones, because when you get too close, it starts to get a little bit distorted on the diaphragm of the microphone. And if you get too far, you lose. But you're better to be a little farther away and have the microphone up a little bit than to be like right on it. So you get better diction, better clarity.
I card the wool to make it clean. Been at this mill since I was 14. My father bought papers that state my age. I've been working here since that day. I am marching in the dark, soaked by fire hoses, and I am singing in the snow for bread roses. Goes on from there.
Nice. So, I'm curious, just for kicks, to hear you move that cable up a half step. then I may try another half
God,
step.
then all the dots are in the wrong place.
What I'm noticing is that when you get to the lower part of the chorus is lower, the notes are lower in the chorus, and at a time in the song when I feel like there should be lift and there should be some power, there's actually an energetic decrease when you get to that chorus. So I'm just curious to hear you sing it a little higher and see if that puts that chorus just a little more in your power range. And sometimes it really can be as subtle as a half step.
Chorus only, or?
Sure.
Wait. I am marching in the dark, soaked by fire hoses, and I am singing in the snow for bread and roses.
So try that again, getting closer to the microphone.
Okay.
3 fingers.
So many things.
So you're about a whole hand still. Very good.
I am marching in the dark, soaked by fire hoses, and I am singing in the snow for bread and roses.
That to me sounds
Yeah,
better. There's
that's
something
more
about
present.
the key for me that feels different. Keys actually have different effect on us. There's a reason a lot of the classical composers wrote certain kinds of things in certain keys. They would write a lament or a requiem or a dirge in certain keys, or write very hopeful pieces in certain keys. And I'm not sure where this puts you now. I wasn't really paying attention.
So now I was on 4, now it's 5. So,
But what fingering are you playing? So So you're
it's
based
a
on
D,
D
it's
fingering,
basically a
so,
D, yeah.
right, okay.
So that's,
Right, so that puts you in G, which as opposed to F sharp or G flat.
G flat,
Yeah.
yeah.
Musician's theory of relativity equals F flat.
Yes, yes.
For me, I don't know why, but for some reason G is more compelling vocally for you, and it's a little brighter key. And I love the suspension. Just because we got a lot of people that wants to, I want to, but are you going to share that song this weekend in Tola somewhere?
Just a bit.
Well, so maybe throw your neighbors to the restaurant or something. Oh, all right. All right. Well,
But I am doing another.
I've heard the whole of this song before, and I have to tell you, it's a spectacular song. So look up Ian's music, and go listen to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So I will also just take a moment and say, in this workshop, just because I saw a lot of hands go up, and I want to try and give a little time to everybody who put their hand up at the beginning. The introductions, as much as they are important, if you want to work on an introduction, we can work on that, but I would say if what you want to work on is the music, then skip the introduction, just jump right into the music.
Great.
How are you?
Thanks. Good. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks for participating.
Good morning. I'm Stan. And I'm violating the first rule because I don't have this memorized.
That's fine.
I wrote this in...
You want music, Stan?
No, I'm good. I wrote this song in, I think, 1976. That was the last century. So I'll do the chorus first and then a couple verses.
Sure.
Yeah. It's called Population. I wrote after reading Paul Ehrlich's Population Bomb. People have read that, familiar with. Too many people in the world, too many hungry mouths to feed. Okay, too close? Okay, okay. Because I'm microphone, because I can hear it's already distorting. Okay, thank you. Too many people in the world, too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need. What will we, what? Why must we wait till it is too late? What will we have when it is gone? Is mass destruction to be our fate? When will we see what's going wrong? Too many people in the world, too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need.
Great,
Yep.
great, thanks, man. Where do you feel like you want pointers or help or tips or ideas?
You're the teacher. Was my guitar playing okay?
Do you play an instrument?
No, I don't, unfortunately. My brain and my fingers just couldn't get
Do you
coordinated.
ever work with an accompanist?
Oh, yeah, I do.
So just for kicks, let's figure out what key this is in, and I'll just play along.
E minor and D, and then E minor and D. Does that work?
So you ended up starting lower and then changing
I don't-
key partway through into it.
Oh, yeah, I'm known for changing keys.
So so it's good to know then that for yourself that it's really good for you to have an accompanist to ground.
Yeah.
So try it again, just the chorus.
Just the chord. Too many people in the world, too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need.
So that felt a little high for you. I know that you think of it in E, but when you started lower, you seem to have more command. Just for kicks, let's bring that down a little bit. So
Whatever.
Let's just go down a whole step.
Too many people in the world, too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need.
So your intonation was already better the whole stretch. So that feels like that's a good thing for you to learn is that maybe your range isn't as high as you think it is.
Okay.
Or maybe it isn't that high early in the morning. I know that for me, I have my morning voice when I'm doing recording work and I need to sing basso profundo notes. I basically get up and I don't use my voice until I'm singing in the studio. And I schedule those sessions in the morning, and then I get my foghorn voice going. And within an hour, that voice is gone, and then I've ascended into more of my column. Just for kicks, let's hear where your range goes. If we drop this down another, somewhere in the pocket of the cable, between key and six. Let's try.
Do you want me to sing bass? Too many people in the world, too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need.
I happen to like the tone of your voice down there. There's a richness to your tone. Let's try that again, and that time you were getting a little close again.
Or
So
too
back
close.
off,
Okay.
just give a good three fingers, four fingers. So like literally, like just put your lips right up against three fingers and go. That's there you go.
Too many people in the world. Too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need.
So I think for this song, that's too low. I think D minor was the right key on that. But I don't know if you sing lower in your range, but I invite you to explore that because you've got great tone down there. The other thing to think about when you're singing, and I'll just offer one more tip, and then we'll sing what's more than is to think about your body posture. Because you're not playing an instrument, you have an opportunity to have great posture. Those of us that are trying to wrap ourselves unergonomically around odd-shaped instruments, but you have an opportunity. So one of the things that I talk about for people, if you are physically able, when you're trying to think about where good posture is for singing, is to do a little bit of this. Put your shoulders, your arms up over as long as you don't have rotator cuff injuries or things. And just kind of move around a little bit, hit a little bit, kind of, find where that place is that feels like, like what Homo sapiens are supposed to be. It's not crunched over a computer or steering wheel or anything else. And maybe do a little bit of that, just like a little bit of head wobble, that just, find that place that just feels kind of zen, like, okay, that's where everything is a little loose but upright. And then when you're singing, I know you're reading lyrics, so there's a reason that your hands are coming forward and over, but what happened, what I saw with your shoulder, I mean, you don't want your shoulders artificially back, you just wherever you naturally stand, but that makes a huge difference, because all of our breathing, a lot of people like, with the shoulders, but really our breathing is going on here. We breathe in, and our rib cage compacts our lungs here, so they can only expand so far. The room for expansion is down into the abdomen. That's where we've got latitude, and that's where we need to expand down here to get a good breath. So, so think about doing that again, but just think about, do you know the lyrics on the chorus well enough to sing without looking at them?
Some of them.
Then sing the lyrics. Just sing it.
We all know that.
We'll sing.
Give Paul the words and fly.
So put the lyrics in your pocket. Just sing la da da if you don't know the words.
Our spaceship Earth has just so much room. Finite is the term, not infinite.
So just sing the chorus. The chorus is the piece that we've been working on.
Alright, so what's the range? Am I up where? Too many people in the world. Too many hungry mouths to feed. Starvation knocks at every other door. Population control is what we need.
So a couple of things happen there that you may or may not want to do all the time, but I want to note them because I think they were positive for you as a musician inhabiting the piece. Your stance changed. You got your feet just a little bit apart into a stronger stance. We don't think about this all the time.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, if you're jousting, or if you're going to, you know, the fencing is what I mean. You know, you wouldn't stand straight like this. You can be pushed over. You put your, you know, there's a little bit of a, you know, one leg back, one leg forward. There's, you know, on stage it's the same. You want to have a little bit of strength in your posture. So you want your feet just a little bit apart. You want to have the ability to move a little bit and not fall over. And without even thinking about it, you started moving. You started moving. You started feeling the pulse of your own song. And that changed your vocal performance because the rhythm of it got into your body and subconsciously it got into the way you were phrasing. Yeah. So that's good. Stan, thank you.
Yeah. The Spanish songs had incredible posture.
Yeah.
Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness.
Wow.
Yes.
Hey, next.
I can't stand to wait, but I'd like to be on deck.
We can't stand up.
Oh, thank you.
You got it.
Oh, no, I'm not in a rush.
Unintended, right?
It's like eat, shoots, and leaves.
Okay? All right, so I won't do much of an introduction except to say that while I write some very political lyrics, occasionally I write a love song, and love is still important for us in a movement. My name is Blue. Lately I've been thinking out fast. The world is changing, nothing seems to last. Friends come and they slip away like migrating birds. They don't seem to stay. I can't see.
Right there. Figure out where 3 fingers is. Closer than that. So your fingers are maybe a little narrower than mine.
I can't see to hold on to so many things that I once knew. A favorite pub, like a favorite song, start to get familiar and then they're gone. But you still wanna hold my hand. When I'm angry, you still understand. When I'm tired and the road is long, you still help me sing my song. So let the world go spinning round. When the evening sun goes down, I just wanna lay me down in your arms forever.
So, I want to have you take a stab at the chorus again of that, and think, one of the unique things when we're playing guitar and singing at the same time is thinking about how we leave room for abdominal expansion, like the accordion, the bellows have to expand and contract. And you're already doing one of the right things is, classical guitarists, you often see them sitting with the guitar up on their knee, and they're going like this because they're creating an ergonomic position for this wrist that's doing so much of this work. And for this wrist to come down and over, like when we're strumming and doing like that, puts the wrist in an odd position. When they move the instrument up like that, both wrists can remain nearly straight and do the work that needs to be done. And when we hold our guitars off to the side like you're doing just a little bit, that's exactly where it needs to be. As a singer, sometimes, that's you've got it. You're doing all that great. But as I was noticing your sort of structure, it felt like you could take a few deeper breaths. And think about how to take a few deeper breaths in it, particularly coming into the chorus because it gets higher in the range. So if you don't mind, let's run that chorus a couple of times and think about just taking a couple of deep breaths. it's hard to do what you're doing here because you're singing something that's nearly a lullaby and pushing the top of your range at the same time. But you're doing a great job already, but I think a little breath support will help.
Definitely. A little bit later in the day, too.
Yeah.
But you still want. Whoops.
So, play guitar for just a moment,
Yeah.
just to like give yourself time to go. Maybe even take 2 breaths, and then think about beginning to sing on the exhale. So rather than sing, go, and just as you sort of crest that heel on your breath and just begin to exhale, then start singing.
But you still wanna hold my hand. When I'm angry, you still understand. When I'm tired and the road is long, you still help me sing my song. So let the world go spinning round. When the evening sun goes down, I just wanna lay me down in your arms forever.
So I have a question. May I touch you?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
No problem.
I want to put my hands on your side.
That's another one.
I only have 2 colors, white and red.
Right. So, but I'm going to put my hands on your side because I want you to think about breathing not just up front, up here, but when we take good breaths as singers, the whole of this is expanding. And I want to put my hands on your side so that you can just kind of have that physical sense of like, oh, I need to aim for breathing into that too. And go ahead. Sing.
But you still wanna hold
So
my hand.
go again, but get the good breath first.
But you
So
still.
start playing a little bit so that you settle into it, and then take a good breath, and then start singing.
All right. But you still wanna hold my hand. When I'm angry, you still understand. When I'm tired and the road is long, you still help me sing my song.
Okay. Nice. So what I want to note, and I hope you all heard that as well, the first breath I didn't feel in your side, but the other 3 breaths you took in that phrase, I felt the expansion in here. And what happened when you did that is it changed your intonation. And your pitch became much more stable because you were getting enough air. And so that was lovely and a beautiful song, Blue. Thank you. Yeah, you're on deck next.
So the rest of the lines after she started, you have to take a very quick breath because it follows right on. So that's hard to do a deep breath. Is there any special technique?
Yes, so the question was about breathing and how you take quick breaths. There's something that as singers we call it a lift rather than a full breath. So it's really important strategically to take good breaths. That's why you sometimes sit with your lyrics and mark the phrasing and mark where you can take good breaths, because then you know there are certain phrases where you don't have time for a long breath. You need to take a quick breath, what we call a lift, which is not a full breath, but it's resetting the diaphragm. So you'll be singing a phrase, and you just take this quick little lift, but what happens is you release the tension that the diaphragm is holding for just a moment, and then contracted it again. And even that little bit is enough to give the diaphragm the strength to keep pushing the air out. The diaphragm actually can't keep pushing infinitely. You know, it's a muscle whose purpose is sprinting, not marathon. And so we need to give it that moment of breath so it can sprint again. And we call it a lift, so it's not a full It's just a nah, nah, nah. You know, there's just a little reset button. So does that answer your question? How are you?
Hi. My name is Storm. My name is Storm. I'm from Greenfield, Massachusetts. I'm feeling to say I'm one of the founding members of Songs of Freedom and Struggle. The first 2 years or so I was here, I only did poetry. I sang for the first time in public here. I've gone on to MC, to be part of a chorus, to sing in public on my own. So if there's anyone who's thinking I can't get up, please do. And also, at the round robin, introductions are very much frowned upon. This song has a chorus that really is meant to be sung by other people. And the chorus goes, just give me a few friends' hands to raise me when I fall. Just give me a few friends' hearts to answer when I call, and help me to be the same. Just give me a few friends' hands to raise me when I fall. Just give me a few friends' hearts to answer when I call, and help me to be the same.
Nice. Very nice. So, as it is physically possible for you to do so, I'd like to invite you to scoot your butt forward on that chair and sit on the edge of it, because what it's going to do. Okay, great. Oh, hello.
That'll work.
Now, I believe is a moot point. So when we get the mic back, we'll the whole thing's off. But so we'll just keep going here. We don't need light. This is all about sound, anyways. Sitting on the edge of the chair, if your body can handle it, allows you to kind of get the kind of singing posture that's closest to what you would get if you were standing. So if that's comfortable for you, try singing again from that standpoint. Don't worry about the mic.
Do I start with the verse or the chorus?
Start with the chorus. Whatever the piece was you were saying, we'll just stick with that.
Just give me a few friends' hands to raise me when I fall. Just give me a few friends' hearts to answer when I call, and help me to be the same.
So that felt stronger to me already. It felt, even without the microphone, it felt like we were hearing you better. I'm curious to figure out what key you're in and see if your range would allow you to sing that just a little bit higher. Go ahead, Cece. So you're in A right now.
Just give me a few friends' hands to raise me when I fall. Just give me a few friends' hearts.
Okay, so what's interesting is that this song, you've sung this enough that is now hardwired in your body. And that's fine. That's great, but I won't spend any more time trying to have you put it in a different way. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, that's so singing it where you sing it is fine, but you have a rare musical gift, which is the ability to hone in on a particular key. In your case, you have a 440. You have concert pitch wired into your head. So we'll not mess with that. But so let's sing this one more time, and then we'll get one more person. I know you were eager to. Do you have an? Will you be playing with an
I was
instrument?
gonna play blues for talk.
Okay, great. So we'll just run through this once more, but think about, as you're sitting there, again, the posture, and think about dropping your jaw, if you can, a little bit. We'll actually run through this twice, once on syllables and once with words. If you can hold your own chin down just a little bit and sing on na. Da, 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 da. La, da, 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 da. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. So you can hear in the room already there's more sound coming out as the teeth and the jaw get out of the way and let that vocal tone come out. So think again, it may feel ridiculous. It may feel a little like British English. Oh, dear sir. But the thing about British English is it has purer vowels than American English. So there's a reason singers gravitate toward those purer vowels because that's what we sing on. So think about singing your song again, just that chorus, but think about dropping the jaw.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because I was abused a lot at boarding school by people squeezing my mouth.
Yeah. So I get that there are physically held traumas, but to the extent that you're able to just think about dropping that jaw a little bit and let that sound out for us. So try singing again.
Just give me a few friends' hands to raise me when I fall. Just give me a few friends' heart to answer when I call.
Really nice. Thank you, brother. Thanks for taking the risk of coming up and singing. All right, we probably have time for one more. Are there any questions? What's your name?
I'm Chris.
Chris.
Okay.
Nice to
Yeah.
meet you.
I thought this was first.
That's all right. That's all right. While Chris is getting set up, are there any questions?
Oh, sorry. Oh, I forgot it already. It'll come back.
Okay. Anybody else?
Hello.
Oh, yes, hand back there. Thank you.
I'm wondering whether you think it's important to open the mouth kind of open wide, or whether that's not necessarily
I don't
important.
think it's important to open wide for the sake of opening wide. I think it's important to experiment with yourself. Experiment, record yourself if you want to. So many people have phones now with little recording devices on them. Record yourself and listen to how it sounds. Record yourself singing. Like try singing with your teeth closed. Try singing with your jaw like stupidly down and open, and just play with what sounds good to your ears or what sounds the best. I often tell singers when I'm working with people privately to work on singing a song through with no consonants. To sing only the vowels. Because without the consonants, you can drop your jaw and just keep singing. Without the consonants, you can keep singing the phrase. And then, imagine it like those Play-Doh machines, the extruder, where you put the stuff in, like a pasta machine, and you press it down, and imagine the line coming out of you, like pasta that's being extruded. And your consonants are just pinching off that line in places, but you have to sing the phrase as much as a cello would play the phrase or a trumpet would play the phrase. Your voice has to be an instrument that delivers the phrase, and the consonants are articulation on top of that phrase. So, no, I don't. To answer your question, in short, no, I don't think just like, I'm a singer. That's ludicrous, particularly in the genre of music that we play. But to figure out how much openness you can get so that you get that sound past your teeth, that's important. For a singer, I keep my mouth really closed. But I have a jaw that's the dentist has a hell of a time doing work on me because basically more than a finger, and I start to get like TMJ stuff. So I've just learned how to work with my instrument. So some people are like, oh, and some people are like Muppets, I swear to God.
How you doing?
Yes.
The power's out around the area, so.
That does mean, however, obviously, that the elevator is out.
No, elevator is out, yes.
Yeah, okay. So those of you that require the elevator, unfortunately, you're stuck on this floor for a little while. And stay, if there is any medical need, maybe those of you that do have physical issues that require the elevator, check in with somebody, pick a buddy right now who is going to be your partner and check in with you to make sure that you're not having needs that are going unmet because of the power outage. So feel free to just grab somebody and ask if they'll be your buddy through the power outage. Any particular physical needs that this affects. All right, tell us who you are, where you're from, what you got
Chris, I'm
for
from
us.
Albany, and I actually was really looking forward to this kind of instruction, but that's okay.
So come on over here since we don't hit mics anyways. I know that that's what you were thinking about, but it is what it is now.
Heartbeat, drumbeat, take a look around your world. There's a heartbeat, drumbeat, surrounding you. Heartbeat, drumbeat, now take a look inside of yourself. There's a heartbeat, steady, alive to live.
That's great. I'm gonna stop you right there for a moment and thank you. Beautiful voice. And I want to invite you to try and let go of the flat pick for the moment since we don't have amplification and see if you can play just with your fingers. Because the guitar right now is overpowering your voice. And that's maybe something for you to be mindful of when you're in a setting where you don't have amplification.
Okay, you want me to repeat that? Or
Yeah, just do what you just did. Let's compare apples to apples.
Heartbeat, drumbeat, take a look around your world. There's a heartbeat, drumbeat, surrounding you.
So I'm gonna stop you right there. And
Funny, I'm
let's
so
put it-
used to that pick.
well, no, it's fine. I know that your guitar playing is impacted. Let's go up a whole step and see what that does for your voice. It feels like you're kind of bottoming out in a couple of those phrases.
Heartbeat, drumbeat, take a look around your world. There's a heartbeat, drumbeat, surrounding you. Heartbeat, drumbeat, now take a look inside of yourself. There's a heartbeat, steady, alive to live. What would you do if you woke up and you could really breathe? And what would you do if you showed up and you could really be who you are?
That's great. I like your voice up that step, and I think as the day progresses, your voice will get stronger up there. I can tell that you're now pushing the top end of your range as it stands now. But
talking
have
much.
have you done any singing? Were you warming up in the shower?
No.
Okay, so
Tired.
So the micromusculature that happens in the throat that allows us to sing is very, very sensitive. Caffeine affects it, alcohol affects it, fatigue completely affects it. And we don't think of ourselves as singers as being athletes, especially those of us that are a little, stockier. It's hard for me to envision myself as an athlete. I've always kind of, not been that way. But the reality is, when I'm doing 5 shows or 6 shows in a week, from the time I show up at the venue to the time I leave the venue, I've been on my feet for 8 or 9 or sometimes between setup, sound check, like getting everything set beforehand, getting CDs set up, giving a performance, greeting with people at halftime, doing another performance, greeting with people after the show, strike all the stuff on stage, pack everything up, get it back in the car, easy 8 hours. I've just logged an 8-hour day of intense work, and I spent a few hours of that singing in the middle. And so it's important for us to think about how we use our voice when we're speaking. And it's really important for us to warm up our voices at the beginning of the day, sitting in the car maybe as we're driving to work, even if you're not going to a performance, or going to a friend's house, maybe you're on your way to a performance, to just like begin to vocalize a little, begin to use the instrument gently, start warming it up. And then start moving into singing a little bit, but don't oversing, just sing gently. Yeah, question.
What's the effect of caffeine?
Caffeine dries out, it dehydrates you. It dries out, and this requires a lot of moisture. I only do caffeine mostly on days when I'm not singing, and on days when I know I'm going to be, or when I'm singing in a way that doesn't require, I'm not like doing a 2 or 3 hour show. I'll probably only have caffeine right at the top of the day, and then I'm working on herbal teas and stuff the rest of the day, and drinking a lot of water. So what I want to give you specifically as a pointer once more, and then I know we're kind of at the end of our time, is I want to have you lose the instrument for a minute. And I know that that's your anchor in terms of intonation, but I want to hear you sing a little bit without the instrument.
Okay. The same song or something different?
Same song. Same song.
Heartbeat, drumbeat, take a look around your world, there's a heartbeat.
So, yeah, not like, just like loose, comfortable, but standing up straight.
Drumbeat, take a look around your world, there's a heartbeat. Drumbeat, surrounding you.
So do that much again, and put your hands on your own diaphragm right here. Kind of like, if you're thinking of it as a clock and your navel is noon, like go about 10 and 2. And then just think about breathing into those places.
Heartbeat, drumbeat, take a look around your world, there's a heartbeat. Drumbeat, surrounding you. Heartbeat, drumbeat. Now take a look inside of yourself, there's a heartbeat. Steady, alive to live.
So one other thought on this phrase, and then we'll let you go because I know everybody has other workshops to get to. The word drum, you're going to the M almost immediately, drum beat, but you just closed off the sound. So stay on the vowel and put the M right at the end as almost an elided vowel. I don't know if you know what I mean when I talk about elision, where you're taking that consonant, the M is sort of smashing into the start of the next word.
Okay.
But try it that way, so that we stay on that vowel of draw, which is kind of odd because it's almost a schwa. It's like an odd. It's not a pure vowel, but it's still. We'll hear it better if you stay on the vowel a little longer.
Heartbeat, drumbeat.
There you go. I love teaching. I can do this for hours. This is just completely fun, and I know there are several of you that wanted to share some stuff, and we didn't get to it. I'm doing some mentoring sessions. I'm also just kind of available for the weekend while I'm here. So if you see me and I'm not really doing anything, or even if I am doing something, say, hey, can we have 5 minutes? And I'll just go sit with you, and we can get a little one-on-one time even outside the mentoring sessions. And I'm available by email, and I occasionally travel around the country. I say that I'm on the road about 280 days a year. But I'm happy to, if you want to set up a workshop where you live, we can talk about coinciding with my own touring schedule, and you can pull some friends in, and we'll just spend some time thinking about this stuff and talking about it. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
You may have a question.